Hello, we're going to tell you about our students' background. They are Form 2 level students in an EMI school and at intermediate level of English. Their prior knowledge is that they have learned how to write informal letters and they know the form of modal verbs but not how to use it in giving advice. And they also know conditional clauses such as if blah blah blah, I would blah blah blah. And they are familiar with terms used for teenage problems.
So for the objective of our lesson, we aim to teach students to use modal verbs to give advice in an informal letter based on the teenage problems they have learned. So in my part, I'm responsible for the pre-writing stage. So I will help students to deconstruct a modal text with focus on the modal verbs, and as well as to provide them with a context.
Okay, and in my part, I'll be teaching the while writing stage, and that is to use the focus language to write a text by using the strategy of modeling.
Alright, good morning class!
Good
morning! Alright, so today we are going to learn to use modal verbs to give advice. So tell me, do you know any modal verbs? Give me some examples of modal verbs. Can, very good. Should, yes, it's modal verb. Could is also the modal verb. Yes. Any more?
How about may?
May, is it a modal verb? Yes, this is also the modal verb. Alright? So you know what modal verbs are. Then look at the worksheet. Look at the worksheet. It is about a letter. Alright, it is about a letter. So, find out the sender. Sender first. Who is the sender of this letter? That is the one who sent this letter.
Aunt Carol.
Yes, Aunt Carol is the one who sent this letter. And Aunt Carol is actually the writer of the column in the magazine. She helps readers to solve teenage problems by giving them some advice. Okay? So, now then tell me, who is the receiver? That is who received this letter? Yes.
Poppy.
Poppy, yes. Poppy. Poppy is the one who received this letter. And Poppy is a teenage girl who has been bullied at school and suffering problems about pimples and weight. Okay? Now I'm going to read the second paragraph to you. And then I want you to take out the pen, circle all the modal verbs in paragraph 2 when I am reading it. Okay? Ready? Go. Bullying is a terrible thing. If I were you, I would talk to your class teacher and your parents about it. In the meantime, you shouldn't confront the bullies. This can make things worse. You must try to avoid them instead. For example, if I were you, I would leave school at different times or with some friends. Okay? Finished circling your modal verbs? Right?
Yes.
Okay, then. Tell me some modal verbs that you have circled.
Must.
Must. Well done.
Shouldn't.
Wait a second. Shouldn't. Yes. Shouldn't. Any?
Can.
Can. Yes. Can.
Would.
Would. Yes. Would. And yes, we have two woods here. Any more?
No.
No. Yes. Good job. Well done. This is all the modal verbs in the second paragraph. Now tell me. Take a look at this one. This modal verb would. What is this used for here? Remember? If you can't remember, if you forgot, then look at the table I gave you last time. What is it used for here?
Imaginary.
Imaginary. Well, yes, you are halfly correct. If I were you, I would talk to your class teacher. This is a conditional sentence. And then this tells you a imaginary situation. So would here is to
Give advice.
give advice in an imaginary situation. Well done. So we use would here to give advice in an imaginary situation. Okay? Alright, then take a look at the second one. The second modal verb, shouldn't here. What is it used for? What is it used for? Tell
Somebody not to do something.
Tell somebody not to do something. So this is your advice to others not to do something. So we use shouldn't to give advice as well. Okay? Shouldn't. And then take a look at this one. Can. Can is also the modal verb. So what is it used for here? These can make things worse. Confronts the bullies can make things worse. What is it used for here? Can. This is to tell what? Look at the table I gave you.
To show possibility.
Yes, to show possibility. That is what will probably happen after you confront the bullies. Alright? This is actually to elaborate your advice. Okay? Alright, last one.
Good afternoon, class.
Afternoon!
Okay, so you must remember that Miss Fong just finished telling us about modal verbs, right? Remember what we
Yes.
use modal verbs for?
To give advice.
That's right. So in here, we use modal verbs to give advice. And do you remember who was giving advice in the last letter?
Aunt Carol.
Very good. That's right, Aunt Carol. Okay, so now I want you to close your eyes and imagine you are Aunt Carol. Okay? All right, open your eyes. You are now Aunt Carol, and I am going to give you a worksheet. This letter is from Frankie. All right? So, Frankie says that he's very unhappy at school. Take a look at it with your partners and find out why Frankie is unhappy. There are two reasons that he is unhappy. Okay? Alright, so what is the first reason that Frankie is unhappy?
His schoolwork is very difficult.
Very good, Marjorie. And Marjorie, can you also tell me the other reason that he is unhappy?
Other reason because his parents.
Yes. What about his parents?
They had an argument.
Did they have an argument with each other?
Yes.
Or did they have an argument with Frankie?
No. His parents had an argument with Frankie.
Very good. Okay, so Frankie had an argument with his parents, right? So that is the problem he has at home. Okay, so remember we are Aunt Carol, and we are going to write a letter to Frankie to tell him how he can solve his problems, right? So how do we begin a letter?
Dear Frankie.
Very good. Dear Frankie. Okay, can you see that? No? Let's make that bigger. Okay, dear Frankie. Okay, and since Aunt Carol is a very kind person, she can say, I'm sorry to hear about your what?
Problems.
Very good. Problems at
Home
good.
and at school.
Very good. At school and at home. Okay, so let's talk about the problems at school. What was his problem?
He finds his schoolwork very difficult.
Good. So I know that schoolwork. I know that schoolwork can be very difficult. And how would you advise him? You can say
He should find teachers for help.
very good. So you should find a teacher to help you, right?
Yes.
What kind of teacher? He had a problem with math, right?
Yes.
Maybe you should find his
Math teacher.
to help him, right? What else can he do?
He can study harder.
Very good. Maybe he can study harder with some...
Friends.
Yes. So how about we use, remember that conditional clause? If
I were you,
good,
I would
what?
study harder with my friends.
Okay, so we can say I would find some friends to study with, right?
Yes.
Very good. Do you think these are good solutions?
Yes.
So maybe this can
Help.
solve your
Problem.
your study problems. Very good. So that is the first problem he had. Now I would like you to finish the second part of the writing, which is the problem at home. Okay?
After discussing with my peer about my teaching in the first cycle, I think I have done well in giving clear instruction to my students about what they have to do in the activities. For example, first, I gave them the learning objective at the beginning of the lesson, and then I started my instruction with verbs in imperative form, which I think is very straightforward to give a clear picture about what students have to do. And then I also used some gestures, body language, and various intonations to support my oral instruction. And I also use some props like the computers to provide more visual aids to students so that students can refer to the screen of what I was talking about instead of just listening to my speaking. But I think I have to improve the language I used in my questions and explanation because I received feedback about the words I used were a bit too difficult for the students. And so in my second cycle, I tried to use more simple words to rephrase my questions and my explanations, and to try to help students to understand more easily in more different ways. And then I also try to pause for a few seconds after each question so that my students will be able to think over the questions and the answers before they have to answer. And also I also give feedback for students' answer by reiterating their answers again so that they would know whether their answers were correct or not. So
Hello, I'm Lisa and I am doing my reflection now on micro-teaching. First of all, I would like to talk about the feedback that my classmates gave me. They told me that one of my strengths is in the strategy in revising previous knowledge, such as on text stages through the use of worksheets. And the improvements that they think I should work on is that I need to slow down when I speak, and that I also need to cater for learner diversity. I think that their comments are well-grounded, and it makes sense because I also think that I do need to consider that some students do have problems with keeping up. So I think I should try to think about how to cater to these different students' needs, such as by writing the answers on the board instead of just saying things out loud.